I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking, regretting it. What have I done? Like I walked into a circus.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Right. Phil Egan is here for the first. Is it the first? I missed last week, obviously. Is this the first Deal or No Deal?
Well, I missed last week as well.
Yeah, so it's a
Phil,
it's
have
our
you been
first.
in last week?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, lads. Sorry. I wasn't here last week. Right. Well, I was here last week, but I wasn't doing Deal or No Deal.
In his cover story profile interview with GQ, the sports issue, Mo Salah stated that he is ready to commit his future to Liverpool if Liverpool will meet his terms. I want to stay, but it's not in my hands, it's in their hands. I'm not asking for crazy stuff. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that Salah is signing a new Liverpool deal?
Right now, I'm going to probably freak a lot of Liverpool fans out, but I'm saying about a 3.
Oh, Phil, you read this and saw, ooh, I'm worried, right?
Well, it's dragging on, and the problem is, look, we've seen this in the past, but okay, like Gini Wijnaldum obviously left, but Wijnaldum, as good as he was for Liverpool, isn't in the same league as Mo Salah in what Salah can bring to the team. But the problem is, this is going to just keep getting brought up now. Like Klopp is going to do his press conference ahead of the Arsenal game tomorrow. He's going to be asked about it, and he'll play it down. He'll just say, look, you know, we're talking right now, we haven't reached a decision. But the more this drags on, the more I start thinking, like, this is madness. Are they going to let Mo Salah leave on a free?
Why?
Because he's not going anywhere in the summer. No.
Why are Liverpool not fixing this? What is wrong with Liverpool that they're not just saying it's 400 grand, it's 500 grand? It doesn't actually matter. The money doesn't matter because they'll get it back. They're not going to get a player as good as him to replace him without paying that money anyway.
True.
What are they doing?
I don't know. Like, they obviously have a wage structure, and when Mo Salah says it's not crazy stuff, we don't know what crazy is in terms of what the Salah team are asking for. Liverpool obviously have a wage structure that, you know, they're after renewing contracts for, say, Van Dijk, for example. Like, how far ahead does Salah go of Van Dijk in terms of a wage? What does that do to the dressing room? I mean, if you're sitting beside Mo Salah and you know he's getting a lot more than you, but he's just after scoring a hat-trick at Old Trafford, you're thinking, Mo, you're worth everything. It's okay.
My win bonus is dependent on you scoring those goals.
Yeah.
You score those goals, I get my win bonus. I negotiated my deal. It's fair.
Yeah, and also, with Mo Salah in the team, you have a better chance of winning things in terms of Premier League titles or Champions League titles. You can go out and sign a player that might have the potential to become as good as Salah, but like you said, you will have to pay for that, and then obviously their wages on top of it, whereas you have Mo Salah at the club now, and yeah, it just worries me that it's going on. It should be, the sooner it's put to bed, the better. So look, I'm not saying, like, right now I don't think it's not going to get done, but it's just, you asked me a question, and at the moment I'm feeling like a 3 out of 10. Next week that could change. Klopp could say something today where that could go up to a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or an 8. But it is just a bit of a concern that we've seen this before with Liverpool players, but we haven't seen it with star players. We haven't seen this under Klopp. Obviously they got rid of Coutinho, but that was a completely different situation. That wasn't a player that has obviously been Liverpool's top scorer turning around and saying, yeah, I love it here and I want to sign up.
I love the fans. It's been really good for me. I want to stay.
I wonder, when you talk about the dressing room and the wage structure that exists, are Liverpool's concerns increased by the fact that we're talking about their two best players being 30? So Salah turns 30 this year, Van Dijk is already 30. So what you're doing is, and I'm not for 1 second equating Mo Salah to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang here, but if you look for the 1 or 2% of paranoia that might be in Liverpool's heads, when Arsenal handed out that contract to Aubameyang, he was 30 years of age as well and had clearly just got to his peak, and it was all downhill there. Granted, you don't necessarily hit your peak once you hit 30. It could be 33, could be 34 in Salah's case. But are they paranoid about the big birthday coming up? Is that factoring into even just a little bit of what Liverpool are thinking?
It definitely. Well, look, that's how they think. They think in terms of, when they offer big contracts to players, they tend to go, even when they sign new players, there's an age profile, and obviously Salah was part of that age profile when they signed him from Roma. But I certainly get what you mean with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But one thing you've got with Salah since he's been at the club is he's been the model pro.
Yeah.
Like, there was no history of issues off the field like there was with Aubameyang and when he was at Dortmund, and when he signed for Arsenal, yeah, we saw how good he could be. But yeah, since he signed the contract, he's been pretty dreadful, and they're trying to get rid of him at the moment. But with Salah, I think, look, you look at a player like Salah, and he's going to be 30 in June, and you know he's part of this high intense team, but he's so good that you can change his role. Like, he obviously plays on the right, but you could play him in the middle. You could play him in a more withdrawn role. So I don't think
it doesn't make any sense. I see the point, right? And I see the Alexis Sanchez contract, and I see Mesut Ozil contract, and you see examples of these players in world football who fell off a cliff. Like, they were excellent, they were world class, they fell off a cliff. But you also see players like Salah, who wants to be the best player in the world, who wants to win the Ballon d'Or, who wants to win the Golden Boot, who has that level of ambition. Like, you see them look after themselves the way Messi and Ronaldo. So for every Aubameyang, like, when you're talking, and Aubameyang, it wasn't as good.
No, he's in a different category.
So, like,
this is Lewandowski, Ronaldo territory here. Like,
Lewandowski,
Mo Salah,
another great example,
is one of the best players in the world right now, and Liverpool have him. And yeah, it just seems very strange that they haven't tied him down yet. And if you think about it, this time next year, Mo Salah could start negotiating contracts with other clubs.
No, don't let it happen.
That's madness.
Like, Barcelona could be all of a sudden capable of signing players again. The books could have been balanced come the start of 2023. Who knows?
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, but here's the thing: if they drag their heels for another 5 or 6 weeks, those conversations are already happening. Like, the agents will so Paris Saint-Germain will come along and they'll say, we will give you $1 million a week, we will give you 800 grand a week, we will give you 700 grand a week if you just sit that out for the next year. Keep playing at this level. You know, here are the levels that you need to attain if you're fit, and if you attain those levels, we will give you that money. So, like, it's a very short window that Liverpool have, and it doesn't make any sense.
No,
from a marketing perspective, from like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you think as well about Jurgen Klopp, he's obviously, you know, we kind of think he's going to finish up around 2024 at Liverpool. So does he want his last few years to be rebuilding to a team without Mo Salah? And like, it's already hard enough trying to compete with Manchester City. Is
there anything in Salah's performances that we're not seeing, that there might be a data point that suggests, while that, like, is his XG off the charts, so that actually he's not getting the same number of chances? Is there something going on, or is there a possibility that there's something going on that we don't know about?
No, well, like, his injury record is excellent. You know, what you see with Salah is he's kind of gone back to what we saw in the first season, where he gets a lot of chances and he doesn't put all of them away, but because he gets so many chances, he's going to score goals. But I think he's gone to a different, like, I know he scored 44 goals in his first season, but there's been differences this season where some of the stuff he's done, like, even I look at the Chelsea goal where the ball was played from Trent Alexander-Arnold, and how he went by and he just gave the eyes to Mendy, where usually the Mo Salah finish is in the other corner, and he tricked him and he put it in the other one. And he has days where everything he touches goes in, like that game at Old Trafford where he scored the hat-trick. I just think at the moment, obviously, Liverpool have tailed off a bit in terms of their title challenge, and you know, they have a few weeks ahead without Salah because he's obviously away, even though Egypt lost yesterday, but they still have a decent enough, the group is straightforward enough that they should win their next 2 games. That wouldn't it be great if he came back, whether he wins the African Cup of Nations with Egypt, something again he says he'd love to do, and then the contract gets sorted and then Liverpool can push on for the rest of the season. I think that the Premier League is gone, but I think the likes of Salah and Mane coming back from the AFCON, I think Liverpool have a really good chance in the Champions League. But yeah, it's the more it drags on, it's just going to be brought up in all of Jurgen Klopp's press conferences, and it's just going to irk him.
Okay. And he hasn't been great in the press conferences when he's been pissed off recently. We got to see angry, annoyed Jurgen Klopp in press conferences about nothing recently. Like, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, it's another mini Liverpool session here. Speaking on Premier Sports, Shay Given advised Caoimhin Kelleher to leave Liverpool on loan in this window. The quote is, he's not a kid anymore. 23 is an age where I think he should be playing regular first team football. Is he right? Will Kelleher's progression be stalled if he stays at Anfield? Between 1 and 10, does he go on loan in this window or even next summer?
He's definitely not going on loan in this window. Absolutely zero chance of that. He's obviously going to play tomorrow against Arsenal in the League Cup, because if you look at Liverpool's Twitter feed, they said next game against Arsenal tomorrow, and who's the picture on the tweet? It's Caoimhin Kelleher. This is what we expected, that he would play League Cup, FA Cup. He obviously played against Shrewsbury and had a pretty good game. There was one moment where there was a long throw that came in, and he had to come out and he punched it and he recovered the save. And maybe that's kind of what he needs, where if he was on loan. But he's been so good that maybe if you asked me at the start of the season about him going on loan, you'd be thinking, loan in the Championship. But he's been so good that if he was to go on loan, he should be looking at Premier League clubs. But it's not going to happen in this month for a few reasons. Obviously, players can test positive. I know Alisson has already tested positive for COVID, so that would suggest he might not get it again between now and the end of the season. But Alisson's injury record, it's like he's usually available, but there has been moments, and you think back to that Ajax game in the Champions League last season, where Liverpool fans were in a situation where the dread of knowing Alisson was rumoured to be out, the prospect of Adrian playing, and then all of a sudden Klopp springs a surprise, Kelleher starts, plays unbelievable, makes that save from Huntelaar at the end. The rest is history, and every time he goes in now, the biggest compliment you could pay to Caoimhin Kelleher is when Alisson is not available, Liverpool fans are not as worried. And you think back to the game at Stamford Bridge where he was excellent, very little he could do about either goal, and he obviously made that save from Pulisic, 2 saves from Pulisic, and he just looks so calm. And you hear the likes of Virgil van Dijk talk about him in such glowing terms. So I think he's just going to keep getting better, and he obviously loves the club. So I'd be very surprised if he'd be looking away even at the start of next season. Look, I mean, I can understand what Shay Given is saying in terms of maybe the Irish point of view, that he has to have ambitions of being the Ireland number 1, but at the moment that position is held by Gavin Bazunu.
What's his best pathway to being the Liverpool number 1?
It could be to do a loan season in the Premier League, and then Alisson obviously gets on a little bit, but Alisson is so good.
He's 29 still as well.
Yeah, I just checked. Yeah,
it's like he's not.
He's perfect age for goalkeeper,
and he's happy.
He's
like if you look as well now at the setup, Taffarel has been brought in. There is other Brazilian keepers at the club.
It's like
he's just not going to become Liverpool number 1 while Alisson is there, and Alisson is going to be there for a good while longer.
It would seem so. It's a hard conversation, but Liverpool cannot let Kelleher go on loan unless they have a better backup, and Adrian is not that. So the drop off between, say, Alisson going down to Adrian and Alisson going to Kelleher, like the difference there is so big right now that if Liverpool were willing to let Kelleher go out on loan for a season, they'd have to bring in a better backup keeper. So if it was going to happen, maybe it does happen in the summer. Maybe Caoimhin Kelleher has to have a discussion with Jurgen Klopp and say, I just want to play every week.
And that might be the right thing for Liverpool to do if they, so Liverpool obviously are looking at this from a business perspective. They need a backup goalkeeper who's nearly as good as the original goalkeeper, and they seem to have that with Kelleher. But equally, at some point, they'll be like, well, that means he's worth between 20 and 35 million. Like, if Kelleher is as good as we think he could be in 18 months' time, then, so at that point, you do send him out on loan for a year. You do what Man United should have done. They could have cashed in on Dean Henderson, or you do what Arsenal did with Emi Martinez, and you get the money for him.
Like the question I would have, like, is it's kind of hard to gauge sometimes how much a goalkeeper actually gains from being at a top club. Like, for example, Gavin Bazunu playing a few divisions down is clearly still developing, despite the fact that the outfield football isn't at that level. But if we think that maybe this guy is good enough to be a Premier League starter, Like, where does he go? Who are the Premier League clubs that have a vacancy that Caoimhin Kelleher could come in and start as a Premier League footballer? And there are very few. Like, I mean, you're looking at a club that is going to get relegated immediately.
I'll tell you one club actually that comes to mind. I was watching them last night, Southampton. They've struggled with goalkeepers. I think they obviously had Angus Gunn, then McCarthy has been in there, Forster's there, Willie Caballero had a loan spell, and obviously, I'm not just saying Hasenhüttl and Klopp obviously did their coaching badges together, their pro license together. They know each other. Similar kind of outlook on how they play. That's just one Premier League club that I think would be better with Caoimhin Kelleher as their goalkeeper. I'm not saying that that's where he should go, but there is Premier League clubs out there that could do a Caoimhin Kelleher.
And whoever gets promoted.
And whoever gets promoted, obviously. What about Leeds? Like, is it like, I mean,
that kid's good, isn't he?
Meslier is
going to get better.
He's going to
get better.
But he's, no, in fairness, and he is young and he is on the upward trajectory. But at the moment, if you're looking at I've not been convinced by Meslier at times.
No,
to be quite honest with you. So that's kind of why I'm saying.
I think Leeds fans are quite patient with it. They know that he is quite young. He looks about 15.
He does look 15.
Maybe
he's 45.
Because I was looking at him going, what happened here? How did what? I woke up and there's children playing Premier League football.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you think the
same. He is 21. Actually, he's actually younger than Caoimhin Kelleher, as it turns out. So that's not gonna happen. You're looking at a promoted team, or else hitching yourself to a team that's possibly going to get relegated. Or
we've got to fly through here. Larry says Liverpool will give Salah the contract, but what they're going to do is at the transfer window run down, then they'll announce the Salah deal to distract from signing nobody.
Could do, yeah. Yeah, that is something that has happened before. They did. Remember last season? Or at the start of the season, they started doing it, like Nat Phillips got a new contract. It was almost like
big news.
It was almost like they were trolling Liverpool fans. Well, certain Liverpool fans that think that you have to win the transfer window as well as everything else.
Sometimes it helps.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move on because we've got 3 minutes left and we've got about 15 stories to get through. At 29, what impact is Philippe Coutinho going to have on the Premier League in his return?
There's going to be glimpses, I think, but will it be enough to get him back in the Premier League? Will Villa stump up the cash at the end of the season? They have the option to buy. Will they see enough from him? Watching them the other night, there's definitely a nice team developing at Aston Villa. A few positions, if they get that Luca Dean deal done, they're obviously stronger then in the left back position. Buendia showed glimpses the other night. His finishing let him down. There was a couple of chances where I thought Coutinho would have buried those, but you have to remember Coutinho hasn't been nowhere near as good as he was when he left the Premier League, because he was at the top of his game when he was playing for Liverpool.
He was one of the best players in the world at that stage. Marcus Rashford, is a parting of the ways with Manchester United mutually beneficial?
I don't know. It's really strange watching it because I've so much time for Marcus Rashford as a footballer and obviously for what he does off the pitch. But I think we're at a situation now whereas you're looking at the Rashford that broke into the United team, who was a little bit unknown at the time when he was sprung from the what we thought was going to be the bench to start that game under Louis van Gaal in the Europa League. Then obviously scores against Arsenal in his Premier League debut. And then you've got this unbelievable kid with just pace and just fearlessness. And watching him the other night against Villa, he looks like it's such a chore to be out there and his confidence is shot. He's played through too many injuries. I remember Solskjaer saying at one time, we're lucky Marcus is a quick healer. Well, maybe not.
Exactly. They flogged him and they made him play with a broken back, and they're reaping the rewards in that now that he's lost his confidence. So maybe a move away from Manchester United and being at Manchester United and being one of the kids is actually the right thing for him. Possibly,
but I've always thought there's a serious talent there. I think what's happened here as well is obviously there's a loss in confidence. Paris played too many games through injury, but also a lack of coaching. I don't think he has received the adequate coaching that a young player with that attacking ability should have got out of the club at Manchester United. Okay, last one for now. Matt Doherty's been linked with a return to Wolves as part of a swap deal, or listen, you take him, give us Adama Traore and we'll give you some money as well. How badly does Doherty need this move? He needs to get out of there because it's clear that he doesn't really have much of a future under Conte. If he goes back to Wolves, I'm not sure how much Bruno Lage or how much game time he's going to give him. Semeido's in there, but at least if he goes back to Wolves, he'll be back at a club where he's got happy memories, and that might even just be the confidence booster he needs to get his career back on track. And we want to see him obviously getting regular football, and then he can bring it into the international team.
Yeah. AJ says, lads, Leeds would be bottom 3 if it wasn't for Meslier.
Well, I would, yeah.
You're
Well, I
disputing
think,
that.
I think they've shown this season that Patrick Bamford is certainly a more important player. What they actually offer in attack has been something that's been really important. Meslier is 21. He's obviously going to come good.
Yeah.
I apologise to all the Meslier lovers out there. I shouldn't have said what I said about him, but I was just speculating.
OTB AM is brought to you by Gillette and Meslier apologists. Good mornings. Start with Gillette. Put your best face forward with their new and improved razors. We could send him one. He wouldn't need one yet.
Just one thing on Matt Doherty is he? Are you actually looking at Ait Nori or whoever's playing on the left hand side rather than Semedo as somebody that goes back to challenge with? Because he came on for Spurs at left wing back the other day, or during Christmas I should say, and I was like, that looked like the Matt Doherty who played left wing back for Ireland against Portugal a few months ago.
We'd take that.
Yeah,
Definitely
look,
take that, wouldn't you?
Anywhere he plays. He played left back for the Wolves team before the whole Nuno thing. He was playing as a left back, but it was more in a 4.
All right. Feel good stuff. That's this week's Deal or No